Every so often, you happen to come across a movie that you can just sense is important, that it's going to have some sort of long-standing cultural significance. And I think I might have just watched one.
I know you like me, Bear.
Nikki?
One of the most highly anticipated horror movies in recent memory dropped into theaters this past weekend. Obsession from debut feature filmmaker Curry Barker. Barker is only the latest in a pool of very talented YouTube creators who have recently made the switch into theatrical filmmaking. Recent examples are the Philippou brothers, who used to have the YouTube channel Raka Raka, and followed it up with very successful feature films, Talk to Me and Bring Her Back. I don't know a lot about Curry Barker's work. I know that he began as part of a comedy duo who then produced some very well received, some very critically acclaimed horror short films, including Milk and Cereal. Although I watched Milk and Cereal recently, and I actually think a couple of his other works are actually better. But he has very much announced himself on the theatrical stage as someone to be reckoned with. Obsession tells the story of a lovelorn young man named Bear who has a long standing crush on his friend Nikki and never seems to be able to find the courage to confess his feelings to her. So, in an act of desperation, he ends up buying a one wish willow from a novelty store and making the wish, I wish Nikki would love me more than anyone in the world. A wish that, not surprisingly, has fairly catastrophic results. This film is already inspiring a great deal of gender related discourse, particularly around the themes of consent. Consent, abusive relationships, coercion, emotional manipulation, um, and the entire concept of what it means to have a crush. The main character of this film, Bear, idolizes Nikki. She obviously occupies a very specific pedestal in his mind, and he thinks of her as everything aspirational and sort of the solution to all of his problems. So you know from the start that this might not be the healthiest basis for any kind of relationship going forward. The theme of be careful what you wish for is a very well worn horror trope. It goes back as early as the short story from 1902 called The Monkey's Paw, which was an inspiration, of course, for Stephen King, among many others. And at the heart of these stories is the importance of not interfering with fate. It is not our place as humans to interfere with that or to impose our will on another person. I'd also like to say that with all of the praise, the justly deserved praise that's going to Indy Navarrette's performance as Nikki, Navarrette is spectacular and she deserves every single flower she's receiving. I do want to say something in particular about Michael Johnston's work as Bear. I think his performance is a lot less showy, but Johnston gives a performance that I think is every bit as committed and emotionally vulnerable as hers. Even though his character is deeply flawed and makes a lot of morally questionable decisions, I still saw him as an ultimately tragic figure. And that is a great testament to the level of nuance that Johnston brings to his character. And of course, there's also Nikki herself, who I will say we don't get to know terribly well. Um, but during the course of the movie, you do definitely get the sense that the real Nikki is actually locked inside her body somewhere, watching someone else drive the car, so to speak. And those are easily the most disturbing moments of the film. Whenever a movie has as much buzz around it as this one, I'm always concerned that my expectations are going to be so high that I will end up leaving at least a little bit disappointed. In this case, I do want to say right from the start that Obsession is an excellent movie. It's a highly skilled piece of filmmaking, and Curry Barker clearly has massive amounts of talent, and that talent is going to take him pretty much wherever he wants to go. However, I will say, and again, this could be my elevated expectations talking, that I didn't find the film particularly groundbreaking. I thought it borrowed a lot of influences and ideas from other movies, and it did so brilliantly. But pretty much throughout the movie, I had a good idea where it was going. In fact, there were one or two plot reveals that were very much staged in a way that it felt like they were supposed to be shocking. And my reaction was, yeah, I kind of knew that an hour ago. That made me feel as if perhaps that the writing wasn't quite as clever or inventive as it thought it was. This in no way diminishes the achievement of what Barker has pulled off here. In a movie that is essentially a morality tale and a cautionary morality tale, you know that there isn't going to be a happy ending. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that. This is bleak stuff. When the movie ended, I just sat and stared at the screen until the last credit rolled, just sitting with the weight of this movie. It stays with you. Barker has created an incredibly provocative and visceral piece of filmmaking that will leave you thinking and talking with your friends for days or maybe even weeks afterward. If you are any kind of horror fan, I do feel you owe it to yourself to watch Obsession in the theater, because I think this is a movie horror fans will be talking about for many years to come.